Well, good morning. I see the time has arrived. Let's see. Where do I start? I guess with the title. Overcoming Our Limited Thinking. Over and over throughout my life, I have been struck with the realization of how limited I seem to be in my own thinking. It's as if I have been stuck in a box of mental constructs and beliefs. Many of them not even ones that I would choose consciously. Nevertheless, I have been restricted in my choices, or so it seemed. My sense is that this is about to change, not only for me, but for the human family itself. The indicator of this is the deep longing to change our reality. That longing is characterized by a visible restlessness as the unconscious content of our soul slowly breaks through to the conscious plane of the mind. The source of that longing is the human heart, and it is through the marriage of heart and mind that we are co-creating a synthesis that will lead us to overcoming our limited thinking. Yesterday I had to add a letter. Today I had to take one out. Okay. Anyway, let's save that so that I don't accidentally put the wrong spelling in. Interesting meditation this morning as I looked at the very things that I'm sharing with you in this blurb. I have been, and I bet you every one of you, or pretty much every one of you that listens to this, are aware of the restlessness that I speak of. You see it exemplified and acted out all over the planet. In every corner of the world, people are indicating that they don't like the reality that we've created. And while we do not have all the answers as to how we're going to fix it, well, collectively we do. But individually, none of us have all the answers. I mean, I have to accept the fact that I don't have them all. I don't know it all. In fact, the more that I do know, the more I realize I have yet to learn. That's a discovery that people that gain any level of wisdom throughout their lives always come to. When we're young, we think we have it all figured out, and we think we know it. We have the answers and we know it. And young souls stay with that knowing it a little bit longer because they haven't convinced themselves that they really don't know it yet. That they don't know what they think they do know. And this is a process, folks. This is a process, which is why I give myself grace, because the older I get, the more I realize that what I thought I knew, I don't really know. Not the way I thought I knew it. As I've told you many times, I was raised as a fundamentalist, which is why I have both compassion and frustration with fundamentalist thinkers, because I was raised there. And I imposed upon myself numerous limitations because I thought that's the way God wanted it to be. But as I get older, I realize that the God that wanted me to be that way was a God of human creation, not God. It was a God of conditional love, because we honestly felt that we wouldn't be going through all this pain and suffering of human life all of this uncertainty that we had to face if we were doing it right. We must be doing something wrong, and this must be a punishment. So we created religion and dogmas to explain the dilemma that we were in. And many of the explanations of the seers and the shamans became codified and set in stone as religious precept and concepts of reality. And yet it was no reality. And we're beginning to get restless. The soul is restless and is tired of living in the restrictions of limited thinking and of a physical form that seems to break down and seems to not meet all of our needs. We long to fly, for example. So we created airplanes and other vehicles that enable us to rise above the earth, because we couldn't do it by jumping off of a cliff attaching feathers to our arms. It's almost like I'm beholding a comedy of how humanity has, through the ages, struggled with what we call our reality, what we see as our, well, that's the way it is, you know. That's the way it is. Never, I don't believe, in human history, at least not in a very long time, have we reached the place where so many at the same time are manifesting this dissatisfaction with the reality in which we live, in which we recognize that our very leaders are insane. I mean, they are absolutely, positively nuts. I mean, let's face it, folks. Look at what they do. They poison our own environment that they have to live in, that their children and grandchildren are going to have to live in if they were to continue. Of course, it's not sustainable what they're doing, and we're realizing that it's not sustainable. How can you sustain insanity? Well, we've done it for a pretty long time, but we're waking up. And this is the way we're going to overcome the limited thinking. Waking up is like turning on the lights inside and seeing the things that were there and recognizing, hey, I know I've believed this. I've believed it for good reason, because I thought the gods or God or the prophet said this is the way it is. And they did. They did, in a manner of speaking. But it was a process of learning, a process of discovery, a process of awakening. And we're recognizing now that creation works through the process of an evolving awareness. And recognizing that it is a process, and being willing to embrace the process with grace, enables us to get out of the prison of our own mind constructs, of the belief systems in which we've imprisoned ourselves and done our very best in many cases to imprison everyone around us so that we could at least be comfortable in our prison. But we're not comfortable in our prison anymore. And don't think that that is lost on those that are trying to rule the world. We're not happy with them ruling the world anymore, any more than we're happy with our own ego ruling our own life, our own ego thinking that it knows it all. We're recognizing the wisdom that we don't know what we thought we did, and that much of what we believed to be true simply isn't true. We're waking up. This is the sense that I'm having this morning. both as I sat in the meditation room and as I came to the computer. The realization that we're on the literal threshold of a breakthrough that will blow us out of our minds. It will knock our socks off, as they say. Exactly what that manifestation is going to be, that tipping point, that quantum step that we take that takes us from the reality that's insane to a reality that begins to make sense. Exactly what that point is, I'm not sure whether it's going to be the second coming of all of our scribes, or not scribes, of all of our prophetic teachers, of the masters that have peppered the human experience throughout history. Buddha and Jesus and Lao Tzu and Muhammad and all of the known and unknown teachers that have come down and influenced humanity at various stages of our evolution. Maybe they're going to come back and they're going to say, hey, thanks for your faithfulness, but you still didn't get the whole picture. Now I'm going to tell you that we've all been on the same team. Even though we appeared in different places in the world, even though we appeared in different cultures, and maybe our message was worded a little bit differently here than it was there, but it's been the same message. It's really been the same message. The kingdom of heaven is in you. Everything that you're looking for is inside of you already. It's not out there, but we realized that you couldn't see the inside because you were so caught up in the outside. You couldn't see it. Now we're helping you to see it. That what's inside is what manifests outside. The unknowing and the longing to know creates the insanity. As you grasp at straws, collectively, you've grasped at straws, trying to figure it out, trying to get the answer, trying to create the mores and the taboos and the rules of the game. You've tried to create something that would make sense out of nonsense. You've really done a fantastic job of creating a veritable mess, haven't you? And you're recognizing the mess, both in your individual lives and in your collective experience of life. And you're not happy. You're not at peace with the world as it is. Oh, I know some of you go into a space that you try to create where you can convince yourself that you do have peace and that the peace is really there. And it is. And it is. But yet you return to the real world, as you call it. You return to the real world and you realize there is no peace there. There's just a restlessness. But this is the calling from the unconscious level of the heart to the mind, to allow the changes to come, to grace the mind with acceptance, to grace the emotional fears and anxieties with acceptance, because we're on the threshold of huge, huge changes, of a huge shift in awareness, and it will touch everyone and affect everyone. It's impossible that it not. Again, I don't know what that is. I don't know if it's going to be our extraterrestrial revelations coming to us in the form of our beloved masters and teachers and prophets. But it's coming. It's coming. It has to. Because it's like the human family is giving birth to a divine child. in flesh. And the incarnation is happening not just once in one individual, but in thousands and tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands and millions, till a great multitude awakens to the truth that we are overcoming our limited thinking. Thank you for listening to me again this morning. I send you lots of love. Namaste. Namaste.